All right. Hi there, friends. We are now broadcasting. Welcome to Little Lab at Home. We're going to give everybody just a moment to all file in, and then we will get started with our program. If you would like, we'd love to be able to say hi to you in the chat. So if you like, you can say your name, you can add your age and where you're viewing from as well, so that we can give you a shout out. I'll go ahead and introduce myself in the chat. We'll give everybody just another moment. So I'm Peregrine. I've got my friend Max here today. Hi there, Hampton. Welcome. All right, I think we're almost ready to get started, Max. What do you think?
I think we're ready to get started, Peregrine.
I know we've got some more friends who might be saying hi, so we'll see if we can wave to you as well. But let's go ahead and get started because we're talking about something really, really important today. What are we talking about, Max?
Well, today we're talking about the pretty big thing that's going on in the world that's making life a little bit strange, maybe a little bit scary, and also maybe a little bit sad. And one of the first things that I wanted to start out with right now is if you're feeling a little bit sad or you're feeling a little bit scared, all of that is okay. Because what we're experiencing right now, this pandemic caused by people getting sick, is sad and scary for everybody. And I think I can speak for me too, in that this is our first pandemic too. And it can be confusing, and that can be a little bit scary and a little bit sad. Today, we are going to be talking about a few ways that we know we can keep ourselves and our friends and our families safe. Which way are we talking about today in Little Lab at Home, Peregrine?
Oh man, I think we're wearing a hint right now. This is one way that's scientifically proven to help keep ourselves and help keep other people safe from COVID-19, and that is what we're wearing on our face. What do you guys see? What have we got on? We don't usually have these on for this program, especially not when we're doing it inside of our homes.
That's true.
Yeah, exactly. We have got some masks on. So I've got my one, it even has the Museum of Life and Science on it, and Max has a really cool one too. We've got masks on. This is not like a mask for Halloween. This is a mask that does a really important job. Do you all have any masks that you wear outside? Do you have masks like we do? I wear this one, and I have a few other ones with some brighter colors that I wear outside too. Yeah, so some of us do. That's great. We're going to be talking about what exactly a mask does and why it helps keep us and other people safe. So we know that a mask goes over our face, right? A mask that we might wear for Halloween goes over maybe our entire face. This one just goes over our nose and our mouth because of something we do with our nose and our mouth. What do you all think? What do we do with our nose and our mouth?
We do with our nose and our mouth?
I'm doing it right now. You are doing it right now. We are always doing it, hopefully. Oh, true. You sneeze and cough with your mouth. That's true. Oh, and also you talk and you breathe. Exactly. Yes. So we talk with our mouths. We breathe with our mouths and our nose. And something happens when we talk and breathe. Our bodies make these make liquid, right? Our mouth makes spit, right? We use it for a lot of different things. And when we talk, we kind of put teeny, teeny, tiny pieces of that spit out into the air.
Well, hold on a second, Jurgen. I don't see those little teeny tiny particles coming out of my mouth when I'm talking.
Exactly. That's because they are so small. They are so teeny tiny, and in fact, we need kind of a special way to be able to see them, which we're going to be talking about in a second. But we make these tiny droplets that come out of our mouths. And those droplets are what the virus can kind of ride on. And if other people breathe it in, then they could get sick. So a mask is something that helps us keep our droplets to ourselves. All of our droplets get stuck in here. And we're going to kind of find a way to see what that looks like using something that you may all have at home. I have a little mister, a little sprayer. Do any of you have one of those sprayers to experiment along with us?
Or a little spray bottle.
Sure, either one. Yeah, so some of us do, perfect. So I'm gonna take my mask off for this part just to kind of help us see what we're talking about. So I've got my spray bottle here, and I'll show you what happens when I spray it. What do you all see? If you want, you can take your own spray bottle and spray it away from your computer to see what happens. That's a great word, mist. Some mist comes out of this bottle. Some teeny tiny droplets of water come out, and they float in the air for a moment, but then they sink pretty quickly. Watch this. Yeah, you kind of only see them for a second because then they sink down. They're so heavy that they sink. Now, I mean, I think that they're pretty light to me, but in terms of water droplets versus air, they're pretty heavy. The droplets that come from our mouths are much smaller. They're so small, we can't even really see them usually. So they tend to float in the air for longer, right? But this is gonna help us kind of get the idea. Let's pretend every mist is a sneeze. Ready? Can you sneeze with me? Achoo! Like that. If I sneeze, achoo, it has a bunch of droplets that come out of my mouth like that. So what should we do when we sneeze? Let's say we're just in our house. What happens if we sneeze? What should we do? Should we just achoo into the air like that?
I don't think that would be very nice.
I don't think it would be either. What do you do when you sneeze in your house, Max?
Usually I cover up my sneeze so that I'm not accidentally getting something in my house or somebody in my house all wet with my water droplets.
And we even have someone in the chat saying to cover your mouth, ooh, with your elbow. I've heard that too, that sneezing into your elbow helps keep those droplets to yourself, right? Because if you sneeze into your hand, and you can do this experiment yourself, if you sneeze into your hand, what happens? Ready? I'm gonna sneeze into my hand. Achoo! What did you all see? What did you see, Max?
I saw a lot of water droplets going into your hand. And now you probably have to use your hands to pick something up, right? Or to touch something or to type on your computer, which means that maybe those droplets of water are still going to end up getting on a bunch of stuff.
Plus, I noticed even like this, some of it still got between my fingers because they're kind of small droplets. But if we sneeze into our elbow, let's see what happens. Ready? And if you're doing this at home, you can do it with me. Ready? Achoo! Achoo! What do we see?
It looks like it did a pretty good job of stopping a lot of that water. And I have never picked anything up with my elbows either.
That's very true. I don't usually do a whole lot of picking stuff up with my elbows. So if I sneeze, achoo, into my arm, maybe it's a good way of keeping those droplets to me, right? Certainly better than my hand, and there's less chance of me touching things, right, with my elbow. An even better way is to sneeze into my mask. If I'm wearing a mask, like this one right here, this is one that my mother-in-law made for me. It has these layers of fabric. And we're gonna see what happens when we sneeze into this mask. Now, if you all have a mask at home that you're not gonna be using right after the program, you can test it like this, or you can use kind of any fabric just to see how that might work. So I'm gonna sneeze into it. Ready? Achoo! Whoa, that did pretty good. I could even see on the screen. Ready? Achoo! Here's without the mask. Achoo! Here's with the mask. So what it does is it catches all those droplets inside of it. And again, these droplets are a lot bigger than the ones coming from our mouth, right? So it's good to have a material, a fabric that's good at keeping in smaller drops as well. One way that we can kind of make sure that see that our mask is good at keeping droplets in is to test it with light. So if you have a flashlight, you can do this along with me. I've got my flashlight turned on, and I'm looking at the light through my mask. And I'm seeing how many little holes can I see? Does it let the light through? And I'll let you guys see. It's a little bit bright in here, so it might be a little bit hard to see. But I see a few holes here and there, but I know that I have 2 layers of this fabric. So the chances of droplets escaping through those holes are pretty low. It's a pretty good fabric. Very nice, my friends. So there's another way that we can think about how these droplets move, and it's something that some scientists have developed for seeing these teeny tiny droplets. We're going to kind of test the idea using some supplies at home. What do we need, Max, for this experiment?
For this experiment, you're going to keep your little spray bottle or your mister. You're also going to have your flashlight, and then you'll want to use a mask or a little bit of fabric to test out how well that works as well. And for the easiest way to do this experiment, that's about all that you need. But Peregrine has an even cooler setup. And while they're going over to get their setup ready, I think it's important to remember that sneezing is a way that we often think about spreading those droplets of water around because we can see them. But you don't need to sneeze to spread droplets out. You spread droplets that you can't see really any time that you talk. And when you talk, a little bit of those droplets come out. And one important thing that we just saw our mask do is it helps to catch those droplets of water. Now that's really, really important because of something that Peregrine said a little bit earlier, that the virus that makes people sick is very, very, very small, but it rides on these droplets. It needs to be in one of those droplets to get to one person over to another. And what we really want to do is keep that virus from getting from one person over to another person. And one of the best ways that we know how to do that is to stop those droplets from getting out into the air, where they might accidentally end up getting on or into another person. So Peregrine's about to show us using Experiment Cam how some of this might work. And one other thing that I think is really, really neat about this experiment that we're about to do is that this is scientific research that we just had published, that people just figured out how to do. And the people that were doing this research were right here in Durham, North Carolina. This was a study from Duke University, which I think is really, really neat. That's so much cool and important science is happening right here in our own backyard. All right, Peregrine, what do you have for us?
So the scientists at Duke use a laser to see the teeny tiny drops of water, right? This is even smaller than our mister. It's the droplets that come out of our mouth, right? I don't have a super powerful laser, but I have a weak laser, and I also have another strong light source, right? My flashlight. And I'm gonna be using the droplets on my mister just so it's easier for us to see on this camera. So I'm gonna start this experiment using the weak laser that I have. I have this little laser pointer, and you don't need a laser pointer to do this, but I wanted to show you all what it looks like. So when I press the button here, you can see that it shoots out this little beam of red light. I'll let you know that it's on there, but we can't see the beam coming out, right? We can't see it coming out like a lightsaber, right? Because that light is passing through the air and it's not really bouncing off anything, right? But we're going to give it something to bounce off of. I'm going to give it some of these droplets to bounce off of, and I want you all to tell me what you see happening. So I'm going to put this in frame here, and I'm going to turn it on, and then I'm going to spray my droplets. Ready? What do you all see? What do you see, Max?
What I see the light from that laser bouncing off of a lot of droplets of water. So where it's usually pretty hard to see mist and to see that sort of beam of light coming out of the laser, it gets easier to see when you have both together. And this really lets you see how much mist is coming out because you can really see that laser beam pretty well.
Even though the droplets that we're using from here are pretty large, so they sink pretty quickly, it still helps us see the movement of the droplets. And you don't need a laser to see this. You can also use, what I'm going to use right now, a flashlight. So if you have one and you'd like to do this experiment along with me, let's get started. All you need to do is turn that flashlight on. So you can see that my flashlight is on. And just like with the laser pointer, I can't really see the beam coming out of it, right? Because it's just going through the air. But when I introduce some droplets, I will be able to see the light bouncing off the droplets, and it will show me the beam of the flashlight. Ready? Here we go. Ooh, did you see it, Max? What did you see?
I saw it. It's a lot like what happened with the laser, but this light is even weaker than that laser. So you can still see, and you can actually see some of the droplets just on their own floating through the air. I think it's a really, really interesting way of looking at that water in the air. And you can see how fast and how heavy they drop down.
But how they still, even these heavy ones, will hang around in the air for just a moment. Wow, so this is something that you can use with a flashlight. It's something that if you are near a bright window, you can use to kind of see how droplets move through the air. And you could do all sorts of different experiments to kind of help you see what I'm seeing here. I'm gonna take it back to my face cam really quickly here.
Peregrine, could we do one more experiment?
Sure.
Just looked at maybe somebody sneezing with no mask and saw all of those droplets. Now, you don't probably make all that many droplets when you're talking, but remember, our goal is to have it so that there's no droplets. Could we do one more experiment where you're sneezing into a mask? Could you hold your mask up and spray it into there, perhaps?
For sure. Yeah, that's a great idea. I'm going to use this one that
how many droplets it stops from getting in front of that light beam this time.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many hands I have to hold both the mask and the light, but we can see it using this bright window. Ready? So you can kind of see on the other side, right?
Yeah.
That maybe if some gets through here, some gets through here, but nothing gets through here. So it's very important to secure our mask to our face up here and beneath our chin right there, because if we do that, the droplets don't get out.
And this is something you can try at home with your own families and friends. Peregrine only has the two hands, but you've got other folks probably at your home with you. And you can try the experiment out where you try it with no mask and then hold a piece of fabric up and see how much less droplets there are in front of that beam of light. That, and what you'll find, is why it's so important to wear a mask. The last thing that I want to talk about, and I'm sure, Peregrine, that there's something else you'll want to talk about here, is that masks are kind of like one of the really, really important tools that you have in fighting against the pandemic. So if you think of yourself as a superhero, which I think of all of you as superheroes, all of us doing our best to make sure that we're keeping ourselves and other people safe, this mask is one of the most important tools that you have. And it's important because it keeps you, yourself, safe. It keeps it so that water droplets will get into your own body. It's also really, really, really important, and perhaps more important, because it's very kind and considerate to wear a mask. It helps to keep our families and friends safe from our droplets, ones that are coming out of our mouths when we talk or sing or shout or cough or sneeze. So this mask, for the reasons that we just saw in this experiment, is one of the most important tools that you have in your superhero tool belt in keeping ourselves, our families, and our friends safe during this very, very strange time. What do you think, Peregrine?
I think that sounds great. And even in the next 2 weeks in Little Lab at Home, as well as Lab at Home, our later program, we're going to be talking about two other ways in these next 2 weeks, two other ways that we can help keep ourselves and other people safe during the pandemic. Later today in our program Lab at Home, we actually are going to have two very special guests who are going to talk to us. Remember how we talked about that laser technology that was developed at Duke University to see droplets coming out of your mouth? We have the two scientists who developed that technology, and they're going to come talk to us about their experiment and about what they've learned on that program. So if you have any questions for them, or if you would like to hear what they have to say about this technology that they have been using, we would love to have you there. Max has dropped a registration link in the chat. If you want to join us later at 2 p.m. for Lab at Home to meet these two scientists and kind of hear what they have to say, we would love to have you there.
And if
that is all the time
you want to register after, it's also on the museum's at home website, which is lifeandscience.org/at home.
Perfect. Very nice, my friends. I've really enjoyed kind of being able to visualize, to see some of the different ways that we can keep ourselves and each other safe during this pandemic, particularly when it comes to droplets, and that is wearing a mask, just like the cool ones we have here. So I will look forward to seeing you all next week, and maybe even seeing some of you a little bit later today in Lab at Home.
Great.
All
Thanks
right.
so much, everybody. Have a good rest of your day and stay safe.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here, friends. I hope we'll talk to you later. Bye. See you later.